Okay, I'll start the video for the little first bit here. If anybody, let's see if we're on YouTube yet. Not yet. Well, it says we're there, but for some reason it just has.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just popped up. I see it there now.
Yeah. But I'm looking, oh, it's a few minutes behind on. Okay, for those that have joined, we are starting the third session of the Virtual Dark Sky Festival, and we uh, advertise this as a remote viewing session. Unfortunately, weather and technology hasn't fully cooperated with us on this particular one. So, in anticipation of a summer that's seen nothing but cloud and rain, I didn't want to be left unprepared. So, we have prepared a presentation using PowerPoint to try and provide a star tour to give people an orientation to star viewing via the naked eye. So I am about to do a screen share here. And there we go. So, like I was saying, it's part of the virtual Dark Sky Festival. And being the Dark Sky Festival in the Northwest Territories, it would not be a festival without Northern Lights. And they are both beautiful and they can be a bit of a curse if you're more into doing a lot of deep object viewing. But we'll get into that in another day. So this screenshot here is a photo I took 2 years ago out at a lake about 50 kilometers east of Fort Smith, and it was taken about 11 o'clock in the evening, early September. I think it was a long weekend in September. So the presentation is Star and Constellation Tour. Now, this is what a lot of people will see as a typical promotion is. Oh, come look at our dark sky preserve. You can see all these fantastic things. In these ads, they have a bit of, they never put the caveat in that the photograph you're looking at here is a time exposed photograph. And from the amount of stars visible and the brightness of the Milky Way, which it is a photo of, I'm venturing to say this is upwards of a 30-second plus exposure with an optotrom or similar thing to prevent star trails. Unfortunately, our naked eye isn't as quite as good as a camera set for 30-second exposure. It just picks up a heck of a lot more of the stars and things. Here's another example, and this one was an ad for the Algonquin National Park. Again, vivid Milky Way depictions. Not too sure the bright object here, whether that is the moon or it could also be Venus. Now, this is a photograph I took. It's, as you can see, an 8-second exposure, very much closer to what the natural eye will perceive, though it is, again, quite a bit more detail than what the naked eye will pick up. And just to show you the difference between a 8-second and a 15-second exposure. They're basically the same general area of the sky, and now in this you're starting to pick up deep clusters and items like that. Oh, hello, Mr. Horowitz. How are you doing?
Hello.
My God, it must be like 4 o'clock in the morning there.
No, it's 7:45. We're 9 hours ahead.
Okay, so we're running just a few minutes behind on the presentation. I think I'm into slide number 4, so just do a quick zip back here, if you don't mind, Larry.
No, go ahead.
So basically what we're doing is the Star Tour, and I've shown a few examples of some of the ads that are out there saying, oh, look at these fantastic skies that you can see. The intent of the presentation is to try and give people a better idea of what they can see, basically just going out in their backyard and looking up the sky. So sort of just saying, this is a little, don't expect to see something this vivid or this vivid. This is getting much closer. It's a photograph I took running about 8 seconds. And then just to give an example, as you leave the shutter open longer, just the additional light that you're able to collect, and it's just the vastness of the star field. This is getting much closer to what we actually see out there. Well, Kelvin does. He's got better eyes than we do. So, observing note number 1, we're going to be dealing with very quickly with what you see with the naked eye, the eyeballs, of course. So basically a quick run through what you see with the naked eyes, and we're more or less referring to dark locations. So outside of a city, sort of suburbia and other areas like that. So typically things that you can see are in the night sky. You'll be able to see planets when they're in the sky. Venus and Jupiter are the 2 brightest ones there, and a lot of times they're mistaken for other objects. In our night skies, there's a total of 5 planets that are visible at one time or another as bright stars, and they're Mercury, Venus, which are usually either morning or evening stars, mostly just after sunset or just before sunrise. Mars, always a nice red one. Jupiter is always quite bright, and Saturn is very noticeable. Also, you can see thousands of stars, and you can see a few clusters. A typical cluster would be something like the Pleiades. If you're in a good dark spot, you'll be able to distinguish the Milky Way and its dark lanes. Also in dark spots at the appropriate time of the year, the Andromeda galaxy is visible. It appears more as a smudge, but it's actually visible to the naked eye. And then, of course, there's shooting stars, comets, fireballs, and satellites. And if you're in the northern regions, aurora will always come out and jump in and start destroying your view of deep space objects. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly run through the different viewing options. So another popular way of viewing the night sky is using binoculars. We recommend it for people who are entering into astronomy to use binoculars before they spend a fortune on a half-decent telescope. Get a nice pair of binoculars. You'll see a lot of the basic celestial objects. And decide if it is a hobby you want to take up before you do the investment. And worst case scenario, you got yourselves a good pair of spy glasses to go bird watching or other activities like that. So some of the objects that are visible using binoculars, basically objects 10 to 20 times more faint. Things like the moon, you'll be able to make out craters. Planets with Jupiter, you should be able to see one or two of the moons if you've got your binoculars on a good tripod or something like that, so that you eliminate any shaking or, yeah, basically shaking. Comets are quite visible through them. Most recent one being Neowise. I know a lot of people were looking for it with binoculars. Star clusters, you can, the Pleiades comes out quite nicely. You can start making out some of the finer or some of the details of the Hercules clusters and things like that. The nebulas, such as the one in the belt of, or in the Orion constellation. Andromeda, you'll be able to see some more detail. It'll be a bigger smudge, to be quite honest. The one thing is, if you're going to use binoculars, we suggest a good tripod, and a lot of your sporting stores and places like that will have a mount that screws into your binoculars, and you can mount them to a typical camera tripod. Okay, then observing note 3 is dealing with a moderate telescope. And some of the objects you'll see with decent telescope. Objects 100 to 1,000 times fainter. Telescopes just, they're bigger, they gather more light. And as you see at the note bottom there, telescopes, bigger the better. Things on the moon, you're able to make out very detailed crater formations, distinctive shadows. It'll blow your socks off to be things. Planets become, you're actually able to see details with Jupiter. You're able to see the big red spot. With Saturn, the rings become visible. You can look at Venus as it goes through its various phases, though it might try and, if it's in a bright phase, it may try and burn your eyeballs, but it's something we have to live with. Tons of deep space objects. We're talking nebulas, galaxies, star clusters, an array of very interesting double stars and things like that. So the next one is just to give you a very a quick indication of what it looks like looking at stars through a telescope. So this one here is a 70 to 80 millimeter, which is about a 3.5 inch telescope. And this is a view of Saturn. You get up to 150 millimeters, which is equivalent to about a 6-inch telescope. As you can see, you can now start making out the variation in the rings. Getting into the 200 plus, that would be 10-inch, 12-inch, and ones that you're going to, you'll need to invest quite a bit of money to be able to buy something like this, but it does pay out. And then if you've got a couple of billion to spare, well, you can buy yourself the Hubble, but you'll have to find somebody to launch it into space for you as well. Okay, so with the Star Touring, Star and Constellation Tour, here's some additional quick basics. Basically, what you need to do is you're learning about the night sky. There's a total of about 88 basic constellations. Only about half of them are visible in the Northern Hemisphere. The 10 to 15 primary or brightest stars are built into the constellations And I'll get a little bit more into what I mean about that in a little bit. And to be able to identify celestial bodies. If you can identify the moon, then you're probably into the wrong hobby, and a lot of the up to the 5 visible planets as well. Some more of the basics. In Northern Hemisphere, there's about 30 constellations that are visible. 5 of them can be seen all year round, while others are seasonal. Constellations are basically for the intent of the Western culture and things have been, were named after Greek mythology about 1,000, 2,000 years ago, and most of the names have stuck along with the stories and things that go along with it. Okay, circumpolar constellations. Those are ones that are visible in the Northern Hemisphere year-round. They're the 5. So you have Cassiopeia, Cephus, Draco the dragon, Ursa Major, which is the Big Dipper, the Plow, many other names for it, and Ursa Minor, which is the Little Dipper, or the baby bear. And this is a list of the seasonal constellations. I won't go through the list in entirety. Some of the ones that are more people are be familiar with are the ones that are associated with the zodiac, Pisces, Gemini. Orion always jumps out. It's one of my favorites. Perseus is people want to know about it because that's it's actually visible in the fall as well, and that's where one of the more significant meteor showers radiates from. People are familiar with Leo the lion and things like that. So if people want a list of this, you can pop me an email at the info.tapas.ca and I can forward that list on to you. Okay, just a little bit of quick physics here. The Earth's position in orbit around the sun determines what stars we can see. So we're traveling around the sun and it takes us 365 days and a little bit to do that. And as well, the Earth is rotating as it's going around. So we're seeing different views of space, whether it be the daytime, nighttime, and those change on a seasonal basis as we go around the sun. So the Earth rotates or spins towards the east, and that's why everything rises in the east and heads off to the west or the south, and everything's always moving westward. Now, the Earth doesn't actually rotate at 24 hours per day dead on. It's 23 hours and 56 minutes. And that's why each day the stars are rising 4 minutes earlier. And when you add 4 minutes up over 100 days, that's a few hours. So that's why a lot of the stars are changing where they rise or how they're visible to you significantly over several months. The ones that are lower and closer to the horizon, and i.e. the equator, are more seasonal, and because the Earth is set at a 30 or 23.5 degrees off our axis, it also changes how the stars travel across the sky over a period of time. And there's what they call the elliptic plane, which is if you were to take the sun, the Earth, and all the planets, you'll find that they basically orbit the sun on a fairly flat disk, and that is referred to the elliptic plane. And with the Earth being 23, our axis being 23 degrees off that elliptic plane, that causes the stars to change their position even more so. And this is sort of an example from Stellarium. And this would be, this was intended for tonight at 11 clock tonight. And this line here represents what they call the elliptic plane. And you can see Jupiter and Saturn are nicely following along the elliptic plane, very low to the horizon. Looking at them through a telescope, probably you'll be a bit disappointed because you'll have a lot of diffraction of the light through the light has to travel through much more of the atmosphere as you get closer and closer to the horizon. Now here's an example of the elliptic having moved, and this is for the 23rd of November, so 3-4 months down the road. Unfortunately, Jupiter and Venus are somewhere else now, but Mars and Uranus, well, Uranus is not visible, but as you can see, they are also still following the ecliptic, much higher in the sky, making them much more pleasurable to view as well. Okay, so just skip back for a minute. Just for Wayne, this is a photo of the aurora out at cabin I was staying at about 2 years ago. It gives a very good indication of what you can see in the way of stars. I believe this was about a 3-second exposure. There we go. Okay, so the next bunch are screenshots that I've taken from a program called Stellarium, or an app. You can download it to your phone. It's quite easy to use, very informative. And Larry sold me on it. So what can I say? So we're going to start basically taking a view to the north. And this is, I set Stellarium for today at 11 p.m. For what you would be able to see in the way of the stars in Fort Smith. So we're starting looking northward. So as you can see, it's not too bad. In Stellarium, the brighter stars, they make them a little bit bigger. And Polaris, a very important star in astronomy. It's referred to as a North Star. It is the only star that actually does not move. Everything will rotate around it. You can set a camera on to Polaris, and you will not. You might get a very, very, very minor star trail after an hour of exposure. So it's basically fixed, and everything sort of revolves around it. This next slide just showing some of the primary stars. Capella, which is a fairly bright one. A lot of people will use it when you're setting up a telescope and looking for a bright star to do an auto align on. This slide represents the constellations. Constellations are a way to be able to describe to people what they think they saw in the sky. If you look back at some of the other photos, I'll just skip back here for a second. If you're looking at this and you're trying to tell somebody, well, I want you to look at this star, but you're standing there, how do I really identify that star to somebody? You say, well, look at the two stars, those two bright stars, and draw a line through it. It's really complicated unless you're very well conversed with star positions and things like that. So centuries and centuries ago, well, the Greeks did probably, and the Babylonians back in 4000 AD or 4000 BC, created what they call constellations. Astrums is another name. So again, let's say you're trying to tell somebody how to find a star. You go, well, look for the Big Dipper, the Great Plough or something like that, and just draw a line between it and you'll come across it. It's almost 3/4 of the way to Polaris, which is the star in the Little Dipper. So it was a way to also help people navigate the night sky. So this is showing you some of the constellations. And for those that want to know which ones they are, the intent of this slide is to identify the Ursa Major, which is commonly referred to as the Little Dipper, Ursa Major. The Great Bear is one reference to it. Norse referred to it as the Plow. The Iroquois have a story about Ursa Major being a bear and 3 hunters. This part here being typically referred to the bear and the 3 hunters chasing them through. And Ursa Major is always fairly low to the horizon in the fall. And the story goes that these 3 hunters chased the bear into the sky, took out an arrow and shot him. And the blood from the bear dripped down into the trees below. And that's why in a lot of Eastern Canada, the maple trees turn red in the fall. That was a pretty good story.
That's a great story.
Okay, now let's turn ourselves 90 degrees to the right, and we're facing eastward. Again, quite a few stars to see. Again, a few of the other ones, and but lo and behold, we have Mars. Again, low in the horizon, but it is typical of the summer and fall in northern Canada that our planets are low to the horizon. Again, these are the lines of the constellations. And here are the names that are associated with them. One of the more common ones, again, it's a circumpolar one, is Cassiopeia, the princess who's her Greek god banished her to the skies, and she has to float around there sitting upside down, apparently. Andromeda constellation, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe Andromeda Galaxy is usually in this area here. I could be corrected if I am wrong. And then you down here you have like Aquarius is another seasonal one, as is Pisces and Pisces. Okay, let's turn our view to the south. Another 90 degrees. Again, you're seeing some fairly nice bright ones here low to the horizon. Okay, I see. I need to go in there and fix up my slide thing a bit. So the 2 bright ones at the bottom are Jupiter and Saturn. Altar is another fairly prominent star. Again, good to know about it, where it is and things like that, because it comes in handy during telescope alignment. Another thing that is noticeable here is, if you'll see, it's not your screen playing tricks on you or anything, but there's a trace of the Milky Way. I'll show you another photo a little bit later. 11 o'clock here, it's still, we're in what they refer to as astronomical or nautical twilight. We haven't quite reached darkness yet. It's been a long day, guys. Okay, these are the constellation lines again, along with the names of them. We're looking south. Okay. Now there's a story, and I won't get into too much detail. Wilfred Buck tells it about we refer to it as the Corona Borealis. The Cree in Manitoba refer to it as the turtle. And if you take a look at it with a pair of binoculars and things, there's not much inside the thing, and apparently it's a void that has something to do with creation. I've been hoping that Wilford would come up here and tell me the story at one of our festivals. But if you go online and Google Cree turtle mythology, there's a good story that goes with that. Okay, finally we're looking westward. Nice bright object right in front of us, and it happens to be Arcturus, which is, I believe, within the 5 brightest stars in our sky. Again, good to know about it as a alignment star. And over in this area here, you can actually see we're making out the forms of the Ursa Major again. So we're working away, we've worked away around the sky. There being your primary constellations and the names that go with those. This one here being the turtle. Okay, there's not so much writing on it. Okay, so as we indicated, a good celestial object for binocular viewing or even naked eye viewing is the moon. I've been fighting to get a good photograph of it of late, and I still haven't found one much better than this one, which was taken in July. Now, the orangeness of the moon is directly related to, you can't make it out here, but there's a whole bunch of puffs of smoke. July or 2014 was a fairly active forest fire season in Wood Buffalo National Park. This was taken out at the Salt Plains. I believe it was about 9 p.m. In July. And as you can see, even this is 300 millimeter telephoto lens on a camera, and even with that, you can make out with some detail some of the craters and coloration within the moon. Another popular thing to look at in the night sky, and these are, they're only occasional occurrence of them, and any good star magazine or astronomy website will tell you of upcoming conjunctions. So what we have here, the moon, Jupiter, which is a planet, Venus, another planet, and Mars. And what they usually mean by conjunction is the planets are lining up. So you've got the moon, Jupiter, Mars, and Venus aligning. And this one's a little more significant, as this star here is also Regulus, which is the king star. This was a slide I had taken and was using in my Star of Bethlehem or Christmas presentations, planetary conjunctions, and significant stars like Regulus play a significant part in mythology and interpretations of what the Star of Bethlehem may have been. But you'll have to wait till December to see that presentation. Another popular thing of recent is comets. I managed to find, now again, both of these would be time-lapse. I don't, Neil-wise, we just had too much cloud cover, so I never did get to see it. And I don't know if it was quite this vivid to the naked eye. The other one was more like this to the naked eye, was Hale-Bopp back in 97, 98. I did see that one quite a few evenings well high in the sky for us. But every couple of years you get a bright one, and they have a tendency of getting us all fired up about them, and then they turn out to be duds. But Neowise was one of the ones that actually outperformed its initial expectations. Now you're going, what the heck is Mike showing us now? Well, this illustration shows what our night sky will look like in 3.5 billion years. It's going to get really clustered up there. It's quite well known that the Andromeda Galaxy is hurtling its way towards the Milky Way. And in 3 to 4 billion years, the two galaxies will start merging. But before that, our night sky will change dramatically for people to view. The details of Andromeda will slowly get brighter and brighter and brighter, and we're going to start panicking and saying we got to get out of here. 3.5 billion years. By then, our sun's also going to be working its way to becoming a red giant. So I don't know. We'll probably have to go somewhere else to see this. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. That was great.
Yeah. Oh, any questions?
No question, but a comment with the binoculars. If you don't want to go the route of a tripod, I